Let's just start with the size of the cluster and exactly how it looks. So this is Victoria's coronavirus curve at the moment, going all the way back to the beginning of the pandemic. Obviously, that very big second wave. This is the current cluster. You can't see it really on camera, so let me just zoom in on all of the cases since November, since that second wave was vanquished. This cluster here was the one from December that emanated from the Black Rock restaurant, and this is the one emanating from the Holiday Inn. 5 more cases officially reported today. So we've got 13 cases now in total linked to this hotel. 3 of them are in return travellers. They're being treated as the index cases for this, overseas arrivals that have brought the virus in. And then there's 10 local cases. 2 of them other residents in that hotel who look to have picked it up in hotel quarantine, 4 staff and another 4 close contacts of those staff. So that is to say every single one of the cases in that cluster so far have been linked through close contacts back to the source of the outbreak. We have no mystery cases as yet. Now, I'll emphasise that as yet because only time will tell if there are more in the community. There's a whole series of exposure locations at the moment as well. It is, a long-looking list. It is, there are a fair few locations on this. The full list is on the Victorian Department of Health website, and you should check that for the precise times that the infected people have been there. Brunetti, one causing a bit of concern today in an airport terminal. New South Wales Health has issued alerts there. There are a fair few venues here. It's not the longest exposure site list I've seen. We've seen much longer lists in New South Wales, and importantly, not a single case of transmission at any of these yet. So that is a good sign there as well. So at the moment, this is a cluster that remains contained. All of the cases linked back to a known source. The question is, and the fear of the Victorian government is, will it stay that way?
We seem to be getting used to these short, sharp lockdowns, Casey. We've seen other states do this ahead of Victoria. It seems to be the go-to response for these outbreaks. Just how successful are they?
And it's particularly been the go-to response when we're dealing with this B117 strain, the UK strain. So obviously this is what happened when Queensland had an outbreak, when WA had an outbreak. They didn't even wait to see if a single other case would emerge. Upon the first sign of a local transmission, they shut down. Victoria didn't do that a month ago, and it didn't do that until sort of 5 days in when that cluster started to grow, even though this cluster is smaller than the one that they dealt with a month ago. The difference, according to the Premier and the health officials in Victoria, is we're now dealing with that B117 strain, the variant first found in the UK. That is the variant we had in Brisbane and Perth. No cases emanated from that. We've had some here, no mystery cases yet, but that appears to be what's driving this fear that this cluster might rapidly get out of control. They've basically said contact tracers, they don't feel confident we'll be able to keep up with this particular strain in the format that they are. This is a different strain than we've had in New South Wales. Whether that's the case, only time will tell. This certainly buys some time for contact tracers to catch up. They're saying they're worried about the speed of incubation, and the testing commander gave an example. We don't have a lot of data here. We've got a couple of examples from the Victorian government about a quick incubation period. That doesn't really establish a big pattern. It's a very small sample size, but it is something. That's the fear. And of course, it is probably worth remembering as well, there is no real political downside to governments going to this snap lockdown. People seem quite happy to do it as a general rule. That's been the case in Queensland and Western Australia and South Australia. Victoria's obviously been through a lot more than most of the rest of Australia through this pandemic. But, this is a strong, fast response. It's probably politically not that unpopular, so what's the downside?